is John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, I've got a lot of great information for you today, as usual. Dan Bongino's back, and I'm going to share some of his stuff. Let's jump over here to Murtech on Rumble. This is my Rumble channel. This is the video we're working on tonight, my episode 1826. Here we are. I forgot to mention it. Here we are on February the 2nd in the year of our Lord 2026. And happy Groundhog Day. I guess Puxatawny Phil says there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter, which actually there's going to be about 7 more weeks because spring doesn't start until about March 20th, 21st, somewhere around in there. It changes every year. But at any rate, there's actually going to be about 7 more weeks of winter, so there you have it. All right, jumping back over here. This is we're going live here as usual. Episode 1826. Let me jump into here and pause this out. All right, hi Debbie BS and Susie Poll 2016. Glad that you joined us here on the chat. Okay, let me click the Show More button and expand out the description box. Okay, we have information from ACLJ Sekulow, Black Conservative Perspective, Dan Bongino, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I do have some shout-outs to give from FizCon, just started following my channel, and Sunali just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Bigjohnperez, Uncloudy, and Jeanette J66 commented on my episode 1825. Debbie BS commented on my extra 608A, and Debbie BS commented on my extra 608B. Looks like Uncloudy's jumped in here already. Thank you for saving me time trying to follow the news today. Well, you're welcome, Uncloudy. That's what I'm here for. I appreciate that. I'm going to give this a thumbs up, and I'm going to give this a thumbs up. Uh-oh. You are voting too often. Okay, well, whatever. All right. Well, let's get into this. And speaking of comments of the day, Bigjohnperez gave me a comment here. Let me share that with you. Great content. Thank you, Bigjohnperez. I appreciate that. Okay, let's jump back here. And also, Uncloudy gave me a comment from yesterday, so let's check that out. It says, good information, and I believe you, Uncloudy. I trust you know what you're talking about. I have faith in you. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's listen to ACLJ Sekulow. Defamation case against CNN at Supreme Court. Sounds interesting. Let's check it out.
The arrest of Don Lemon, everything that's happening right now in Minnesota, just tie into a lot of the work we're working on.
We announced the cert petition we have filed at the Supreme Court asking them to take a case that involves defamation in CNN. And the goal of that case is to try to get clarity, maybe update to a precedent called New York Times versus Sullivan, which has really built up this impenetrable wall for journalists, for media, saying that they can never really be charged with defamation because there's this intent level that has to be reached. And so for a long time, they have had a much broader, much more leeway than even other people within the First Amendment that can be sued for things like this. So this is a case, Dershowitz versus CNN, that the ACLJ brought right at the end of December. CNN has officially waived their right to respond to our cert petition, which is interesting, meaning they are not putting up a defense of why the Supreme Court should not take it in at this stage of the game. Now, does that because they believe that it's not going anywhere? Maybe. Is it because they are just fine with it moving on and want to try to impact case law? We don't know that. But it is a very interesting development today as we continue to fight in court. This, I think, goes back to what the whole discussion is that journalists in the United States right now, especially if you are with a big organization, have these even more heightened protections. It is within the same amendment as regular freedom of speech, freedom of worship. We know this, freedom of assembly. But the freedom of the press category seems to have, whether it be through Supreme Court precedent or through other actions, this more heightened protection where normal citizens exercising their First Amendment right would not be able to just defame.
Yeah, people for so many years have called me personally when maybe a hit piece comes out on them or their family or their organization and filled with lies, filled with half-truths. And they've called me, in tears often or not sure what to do, spinning out of control because they feel like their lives are being ruined by lies. And, in any other circumstance, I'm usually able to say, well, we'll take up your case. Let's go work on it. Let's go do it. When it comes to, like Will said, the broad, almost immunity that journalists have, and that really big news organizations have, to spin a half-truth or a lie, even when they knowingly know it to be untrue, has been broadly protected. So I have to have these weird conversations where I bring a lawyer on a phone call and I kind of have to say, especially if you're a public figure, there is not much you can do. We can take this to court. It's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of years of your time, and likely you're going to lose because, as Will said, it has had this really broad sense of immunity, especially in the last decade. But that is where the ACLJ has finally had an opportunity to step in and make these adjustments to where at least they can't continue repeating known lies. And I believe there's a good chance that we win this and we see a massive change in the way reporters are held accountable. So where I do think there is broad immunity in terms of, or there's definitely a broad scale of what freedom of journalism is, and when you're there as a journalist and covering what you need to cover, I do think there is an opportunity to limit the lies. And it's not about opinions. A lot of these are stated as facts. They're stated as just what's going on. They're never even caveated often. Or a correction comes out later on and it's buried and never seen. There's a lot that can be done in that.
I want to play this also because it ties back to the Don Lemon story, where the voicing an opinion and showing where you're at on this issue. And I think it gives you an insight into what his motives were there. But this is bite 9. This is after the fact, after we saw what happened, after he refused to leave when the pastor asked him to. He was on the I've Had It podcast and talked about what his thoughts are on that church, of which I don't know if he did any research on that church, if he knew any of the people there, but it's this casting them and defaming the people there in a wide sense. Now, he does say, I think, it's his opinion, but the ability for journalists to just feel so comfortable saying this out loud after saying, I was just there to chronicle this, is shocking. This is bite 9.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America.
And once again, this is him ascribing motives for people there on a Sunday that were participating in a worship service. That is white supremacist because they were not at protests on Sunday morning. It is such a twisted, demonic mindset that he so comfortably spews that, religious groups, it's not the type of Christianity I practice. And we know that his type of Christianity is worship through journalism, I think, is what we took from the church service. But once again, he's just sitting there defaming and chastising these people on a liberal podcast by saying that they are effectively white supremacist and that they don't want others to have religious freedom. He knows nothing of the intention or the hearts of these people.
Alrighty, folks, there you have it. And, let me first click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from American Center for Law and Justice. I'm following the channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and let me close the chat out again. I was chatting a little bit with Debbie BS and Susie Poll 2016 and Foxy Grandma and SheB63. Thank you folks for chatting. I appreciate that. But let's scroll down here, and you know why the mainstream media can get by with just outright lying. Now, there are certain people like Donald Trump that if, they tell defaming information about him that is untrue, he'll sue their asses. But not everybody has that ability to do so. But right here, the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act that was put into place during Obama, he signed that into law. It was packaged in with a defense budget. That's how they do stuff. They put shit in that has, either you sign it or you close down the government. What are you going to do? Okay, but the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act makes it legal for the mainstream media to lie to you. Let's take a listen to this. Just a couple of minutes long.
So in 2013, it was legalized in the United States to propagandize its citizens. What? Like, that's some scary third world stuff going on. That's the kind of stuff that people use to topple governments, to take away freedoms.
Yes, you heard that right. Almost a decade ago, propaganda was legalized in the United States with the passage of the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which you've probably never heard of. The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act was buried in the 2012 National Defense Authorization Act for a good reason, because it repealed the 1948 Smith-Mundt Act, which authorized the State Department and the mainstream media to engage in propagandizing foreign countries, but it prohibited releasing that same propaganda in America for public consumption. This prohibition was lifted when the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act was signed into law by Obama.
Very simply, Obama gave it a reboot in 2012. So no matter how outrageous the propaganda may be, it's completely legal.
Propaganda, in other words, a false narrative for whatever specific purpose, is now much, much easier to perpetrate on the people.
Due to the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which went into effect on July the 2nd of 2013, scripted and orchestrated propaganda can now be presented to the American public as factual news.
All right, there you have it, folks. And, this video was actually dropped about 2012, okay? 2022, when they said that almost a decade ago. So this video is 4 years old, but it tells what's going on and why the mainstream media can get by with lying so much, and the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, can't step in and kick their asses for doing so. All right, I know there's freedom of the press, but there is a certain amount of responsibility that the press has, because people watch it and they believe what the press is saying, regardless of whether it's a lie or not. Okay, well, let's jump down here to Black Conservative Perspective. Liberal media anchors implode as Trump Deputy AG schools them on why Don Lemon is going to prison. All right, let's check this out.
Happen. It doesn't matter if you happen to be a former CNN journalist. It doesn't matter if you're a rioter. It doesn't matter if you think you're peacefully protesting. You are not allowed to do that.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to continue our coverage of the mainstream liberal media trying to run cover for their former colleague, Don Lemon, okay, aka Donna Lemonade, who could be facing prison time due to the fact that, in my opinion, he conspired to interfere with the rights, the First Amendment rights, freedom of worship of churchgoers on behalf of illegal immigrants with a bunch of domestic terrorists, right? I believe that Don Lemon was involved in the conspiracy. I think that the DOJ has a solid case against Don Lemon. That doesn't mean that it's a slam dunk. It doesn't mean that he will be found guilty for sure. It just means that I don't think that is weak, right? I think that most people who are claiming that the DOJ's case is weak either haven't read the indictment or haven't seen the live stream, right? I think that the live stream and the indictment together, to me, in my non-legal opinion, I believe that the DOJ has a solid case. Doesn't mean it's a slam dunk. Doesn't mean that Don Lemon 100% is going to be found guilty. It just means that it's not bullshit, right? It's not flimsy. It's not what people are trying to characterize it as, because, again, they have an incentive for Don Lemon to get off because of the fact that if Don Lemon actually is held accountable for his actions, then it will be the first time that a liberal journalist has actually been held accountable for criminal activism disguised as journalism. And because all of these so-called journalists on national television are actually activists, they feel threatened by that, right? Because these journalists have created this imaginary legal shield for them to do whatever they want to do, right? They have an absolute right of freedom of press, freedom of speech, to the point where they think that they can interfere on the rights of others, right? That is what these so-called journalists are implicitly saying, that their rights trump everybody else's rights, okay? This is what they're saying when they come out here and they defend Don Lemon, talking about, well, he has a First Amendment right to interfere with other people's worship. So that brings me to this interview here on CNN featuring Dana Bash, who is a former colleague of Don Lemon, right? And Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who is going to school Dana Bash on why Don Lemon is guilty, right? As she cherry picks parts of the indictment that she is using to push her narrative that Don Lemon somehow, some way is being indicted, right, charged for journalism, and that's not true. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
No, I understand. He is the only sitting president who we're talking about. I do want to move on. Former CNN anchor Don Lemon and another journalist, Georgia Fort, were arrested on Friday on charges they violated federal law during a tense protest at a Minnesota church. A conservative federal judge, somebody who clerked for Antonin Scalia, already had rejected those warrants and wrote that there is no evidence that those two engaged in any criminal behavior or conspired to do so. Then an appeals court held up that decision. Why did you then bring this case to a grand jury after it already had been rejected by multiple judges?
So first of all, that appeals court, that's, right. The appeals court, a judge on the appeals court said that there was clearly probable cause. There was absolutely probable cause that a crime had been committed. Okay, so it's true that they rejected the mandamus petition, but yes, by Mr. Lemon and others, it's public. And so, yes, you're right. A judge in that court had said there wasn't probable cause. But guess what? Our system doesn't allow judges to make that decision. They can make that decision to get an arrest warrant on a complaint, but only a grand jury can bring forth an indictment. And so that's what we did. We went to a grand jury, which, as you know, are 25 citizens from Minneapolis and around that decide whether there's probable cause. And that's who returned an indictment.
Yeah. So, again, this is how the media plays games, right? It's always this sleight of hand stuff where they lie by omission, right? They keep pushing out the same stupid talking points because, again, they believe that the general public is not really educated in regards to what happened with Don Lemon in securing this indictment. Yes, the magistrate judge out in Minneapolis, Minnesota, rejected the DOJ's first attempt to issue an arrest warrant for Don Lemon, okay? However, this guy clearly was a political operative. Okay, his wife works for Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota. We already know how Keith Ellison feels about going after Don Lemon and what he did. That is not a crime at all, right? Even though clearly they broke state laws, right? Trespassing, like Don Lemon being told to leave and not leaving on camera is trespass. The fact that the state is not charging him for it tells you everything you need to know about the politics involved, right? So again, these are politically captured judges, right? And then Dana Bash omits what Todd Blanche laid out here, which is that the appeals court had a judge that said, no, there's actually probable cause to go after Don Lemon, right? So they're pretending as if one judge's opinion is the only opinion that matters. And that's simply not the case, okay? You actually do have a judge who was on the appeals court that did say there is probable cause to charge Don Lemon. In fact, the question before the appeals court was not whether or not they felt like there was probable cause to go after Don Lemon. It was about whether they should compel the lower court judge to charge Don Lemon, right? Again, the media leaves that out. They're not going to explain that because they think that the audience is stupid, okay? But again, this is why channels like mine exist, so I can explain to people how this stuff works. The appeals court basically said that, hey, there are other ways to go after Don Lemon, right? Like, you don't just have to go through this judge. You can go through a grand jury in order to get Don Lemon, right? Again, going to a judge is different than going to a grand jury. Why is it different, right? The reason why it's different is because going to a judge is much narrower. Basically, they just give the judge the documents, and there's no back and forth, and the judge decides based off the documents, hey, whether or not an arrest warrant should be issued. It's kind of like a one-way street type of thing, right? A grand jury presentation is different. The DOJ is actually allowed to make arguments and to give a presentation on this is why Don Lemon should be indicted, right? Or this is why these individuals should be indicted. This is why they should be charged. It's different, okay? So when Trump was indicted, right, by a grand jury, what did the liberal media say? Well, he was indicted by a jury of his peers, right? So therefore it's legitimate. Now all of a sudden, grand jury indictments aren't legitimate anymore, right? When a grand jury indicts a Democrat, all that stuff that they use in order to legitimize the witch hunt against President Trump goes out of the window. It goes out the window. It's amazing how that works. And that's why I get so frustrated when I hear these libertarian types, right? And even some conservatives pretend as if we're operating on an equal playing field when it comes to the media and the Democrats and our institutions. We're not. The fact that you had a judge on the appeals court say there is probable cause against Don Lemon, plus the grand jury in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which right now is not a very Trump-friendly place. The fact that even they were convinced that, hey, yeah, there's probable cause to go after Don Lemon suggests that those initial judges, right, that rejected the arrest warrant against Don Lemon, that they're the ones who got it wrong. That they're the ones who are letting their politics interfere with whether or not justice should be served. So that's really what's going on here. And of course, the media is going to lie by omission because that's in her best interest, right? It's in her best interest not to be honest with people about what actually happened to Don Lemon. And I'm about to show you a concrete example of what I'm talking about.
Mr. Blanchard, I want to go, actually, I went through the entire indictment, all 29 alleged overt acts of conspiracy. And there's a lot to ask you about, but I'm just going to pick a few here, okay? Starting with overt act number 20, which says, quote, defendant Lemon told his live stream audience about congregants leaving the church and about a young man who Lemon could see was frightened, scared, and crying. And Lemon observed that the congregants' reactions were understandable because the experience was traumatic and uncomfortable, which he said was the purpose. Overt Act 21 says, quote, as the operation continued, defendant Lemon acknowledged the nature of it by expressing surprise that the police hadn't yet arrived at the church and admitted knowing that the whole point of the operation was to disrupt. Why wouldn't a jury at trial see this as a journalist observing what is happening, which is protected by the First Amendment?
Well, you conveniently left out multiple allegations in that indictment about what else Mr. Lemon did, including surreptitiously avoiding saying where they were going, being part of the planning, being part of the decisions to make sure the police didn't know this was happening and federal law enforcement didn't know this is happening.
Facts.
There are multiple allegations there. And guess what? He gets to have a lawyer and he gets to have a defense. And so if he wants to go forward with the defense that, oh, shucks, I was just a journalist, he can do that. But obviously, as the indictment lays out, and which you didn't read on the air, there's a lot of things that Mr. Lemon did that you would never do as a journalist. You would never do that.
Okay.
Let's be honest.
This is not about me. This is about what happened, and this is about kind of the rules of the road.
Well, no. It's 100% about what you would do, right? That's actually a damn good question. What would you do, Dana, in that situation? Let's be real, because they're claiming this is an attack on journalism. You're a journalist. So now the relevant question becomes, okay, well, you're claiming this is an attack on journalism and you are a journalist. What part of what Don Lemon did would you do? Would you do that? Would you do what he did? Would you do what Don Lemon did? And see, that question gets to the heart of what I've been arguing about why the media has an incentive, why they're freaking out about this, why they want to dismiss this case against Don Lemon, why they want to try to play it down, try to say, oh, it's politically motivated, it's a witch hunt, they're trying to make an example out of Don Lemon. The reason why is because they're not journalists. They're not journalists. Dana Bash, as a journalist, right, she knows this. She's not threatened by what the DOJ is doing when it comes to going after Don Lemon, because she knows that she would never do that. Only an activist would do that. She knows that what Don Lemon was doing was not journalism. She knows that. She's trying to present it as journalism because she thinks the audience is stupid. And also because a vast majority of her own colleagues, including herself as well, too, let's be real. She engages in activism, but she knows the fine line between journalism and activism. These people engage in activism, okay, and they disguise it as journalism because, again, their jobs really are to affect public opinion in ways that are favorable towards Democrats and harmful for Trump, right? That's their actual job. So at this point, they're not acting as journalists, but they know what journalism is, right? That's my point. And she knows that if she was actually there as a journalist, she would not have done what Don Lemon did. And because she knows that Don Lemon was not there as a journalist, he was there as an activist disguised as a journalist. And that is what a vast majority of the mainstream liberal media is doing now, right? Instead of journalism. This is why she feels threatened. This is why she is omitting on purpose key facts about this case against Don Lemon. Like, she omitted the fact that the judge on the appeals court said that no, there is probable cause to go after Don Lemon. Now she's admitting all of the other overt acts, which taken together, right, not just one of them, strongly suggests that he was not just a neutral observer there as a journalist. He was an active participant and a conspirator, right, in the operation. He was there during the planning stages. He coordinated with the other co-conspirators. He went out of his way to maintain operational secrecy about what they were doing in order to ensure that the operation was successful. I want you guys to understand, why is this not passive journalism? Don Lemon knew about the criminal activity, what they were going to do, and then on camera explicitly said, hey, I can't tell you about it because I don't want to ruin it. Hey, we have to back away to make sure that the plans are not revealed on live stream because, again, we don't want to ruin it. We don't want federal law enforcement to show up. We don't want law enforcement showing up before we get there. So he knew they were about to commit a crime and went out of his way to ensure the crime was successful. That is participation. That is being a co-conspirator. You're now a part of the protest because you are taking acts in furtherance of ensuring that the crime is successful. It's all on camera, okay? And no, it's not the same thing as some, casual observer knowing that somebody's about to go rob a bank and not saying anything about it. It's not the same thing. Why is it not the same thing? It's because if you know that somebody's about to rob a bank, you don't have to call 911. You don't have to say anything about it because you don't know if it's actually going to happen. You don't know what they're actually going to do, right? It's probably the moral thing to do, which is to call 911, okay, or to tell somebody about it, but you don't have to. However, that is different than going out of your way to hide, to make sure that other people don't know what's about to happen, while at the same time being a part of the planning stages, coordinating with the bank robbers and going to the bank robbery with the bank robbers, right? Do people understand that? It's not just one act in and of itself. It's all of the acts together suggest that Don Lemon was a participant, not just a neutral observer, right?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there, and he's right. I mean, if a journalist was to be a part of planning a bank robbery and going in and holding, just getting in the way of people while the bank robbery is taking place, and interviewing people, knowing the bank robbery was going to happen and is happening, I think, the driver of the car in a bank robbery is also part of the bank robbery. All right? So if you are participating in a bank robbery, whether you touch the money or not, you are guilty of being a part of that bank robbery. Okay? Let me go ahead and click on this Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Black Conservative Perspective, and I like his content. He's really got great stuff. Okay, and as usual, the link to this video is in the description box, as well as the link to his channel on Rumble. I'm sorry, on Rumble. So I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, we're going to jump back here. This is the beginning of the month, and I like to talk about my creator program, my requirements for my creator program. Hours streamed from Rumble, I need 30. To meet my requirements, I've got 21. Okay, let's just skip down here. Rumble Premium exclusive hours streamed, I need 5. I've got 6.2. I did that last night with my daily news wrap up. Hours watched this month, I need 200 already. The second of the month, I've got 249. Total unique raids this month, I need 5. Already I've got 6. It's just the second day. The thing that I'm kind of lagging behind in is total unique chatters this month. That means I need 20 different people to give me a chat. Uncloudy, if you're watching, just give me a chat. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat room. Okay, say hi in the chat room. Everybody else that's watching, okay, I've got 17 people watching, but I only have 6 unique chats. So, if you can all jump in there and just give me a thumbs up or say hi or a funny face or whatever, that would be fantastic to get those chats up. Because when I meet my requirements, then Rumble starts promoting my information out a little bit more. So, and this information that I'm giving you is no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth information that everyone needs to know about. So we're fed so many lies and propaganda from the mainstream media and deep state swamp. We need something like this for people to actually get the news, kind of like Uncloudy said. All right, so let's jump back over here and let's move on with Dan Bongino. Okay, I'm going to start this up about the 30-minute and 22-second mark after it goes through some introduction and some advertisement, but I'm going to have this video in my daily news wrap up and start it off from the beginning because he's got even in the beginning he's got some good stuff. But this is a part that I thought would really interest you. So let's take a listen to it.
Enough of that. Again, I don't want to make this a whole show about here's what happened over the last year. We got enough going on. But Peter Schweizer, who is an amazing author, I think he has a book out now. He put up a tweet at the time because I guess like me, he's a data guy. I'm a data guy. I believe in numbers just like the president. Results matter. Like, show us the numbers, man. And he put out this tweet, which I thought was pretty cool, and I appreciate it. He said, listen, critiques of the FBI are longstanding and justifiably so, right? Have been made for many decades, but when it comes to granular data on crime fighting, current FBI's numbers speak for themselves. This was this was just towards the end of the year, 30,000 arrests, 25,000 violent offenders. You see all the numbers right there, 5,000 children located, espionage arrests surging. So with all that, I felt like on my first show, I wanted to address basically 4 groups of people because a lot of people here who are here have been supporters of mine. I deeply appreciate it. I love you guys, but that wasn't always the case. There were people who just waited for me to get off the air, and they were just dying to take a pot shot the first day we were on the job. So here are the 4 groups of people I want to address and I want to clear up some stuff with. First, to our supporters. I really can't thank you enough. Good cases and good police work takes time. Listen, I wish it didn't, but good cases, good police work, and personnel changes take time. You can do all these things the wrong way or you can do them the right way. But the right way to do them is never going to be the quick way. I used to say to everyone at the Bureau, fast is smooth, smooth is fast. But good cases take time. We are not the War Department. We can't just give an order and have something enacted immediately. There's a process. There are United States attorneys you have to work with. The Justice Department, when I was there, was dealing with a lot of U.S. attorneys who were legacy Biden, even Obama holdovers who just didn't want to do their job. So AG Bondi gave him the boot and said, get out. And, Todd and them from the DAG, the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, they said, you got to go. You don't want to do your job, get out of here. So you're dealing with process. You're dealing with some judges who are not, hurt us in a lot of these cases as well. It's not an excuse for anything. It's just an explanation. So the supporters who understood that this stuff takes time and judged us on the record, I really appreciate that. You guys and ladies have been with me from the beginning. I read a lot of your stuff, and I owe you huge, man. I really appreciate me, going in there and having that bedrock of support on the outside. I used to say on the show before I left, everything in this business, in the opinion business, is sound bites and snapshots. It's headlines and sound bites. That's all it is. That's what people remember. Clipping is the way a lot of people get recognition online. A lot of people watch the whole show. Some people don't. Sound bites and snapshots matter. It's the exact opposite in federal law enforcement. It is not sound bites and snapshots. It is a very slow, methodical process. Getting subpoenas, doing the work, doing the investigative work, getting the data aggregated to make a case that can pass judicial muster and that probable cause hurdle. So it's the exact opposite. So big thank you to our supporters. Love you guys. You're the best. That's the first group of people and the best of this lot. Second, to the libs and their media pals, liberals out there, with you guys, you've always hated me. The feeling's probably mutual. I don't like you guys either. I would like to think when I went in there, I had an open mind. I didn't go in there with any partisan intent. And the people we arrested, where we crushed the crime rate in largely liberal cities, we didn't do it to score political points. No one's voting for anyone I support in these liberal cities anyway. We did it because the job matters. So liberals and their media pals, you can get your lips and just pucker them up and plant a big wet one on my ass. Because you guys would just rather see people dead. What are you laughing at, Jim? We're not even like 40 minutes in. Jim's already like, I miss this guy. It's been a long time. Yeah, you can pucker up, okay? I'd show it to you, but no one wants to see that on the live. We may crash the live stream again. This may be what the DDoS attack was all about, to prevent me from trying. But you guys would rather see people dead. I'm going to talk to President Trump about this in about a little less than an hour when he comes on the show. But it's incredible at the homicide rate. Jim, what happens in a homicide? What happens to people? Somebody dies. They're freaking dead. It's amazing. Like, a lot of people aren't dead because the homicide rate's the lowest it's been in modern U.S. history. Not exclusively because of the work we did, but largely because of the work we did at the direction of the president, expanding the use of UFAP warrants, Vicar cases, RICO cases, gang members who shoot people we want locked up. I just showed you the montage, chalk line, the Kensington drug market, all this stuff, the illegal immigration push, Title 8ing violent criminals, using Title 8, to get them out of the country. And then the liberals are complaining. I don't know. What the hell happened? How did this happen? Gee, I don't know, dipshits. How did it happen? When 0.5% of the population commits 50 to 70% of the violent crime, and most of them have been arrested between 8 and 12 times before. That's what the data shows. And Jim, stunner. When you go out and you lock these violent animals up, they can't kill people because they're in jail. Well, they could kill people in jail, but not on the street. When you deport them, they can kill people, but not here. I don't want them killing anyone, but I don't want them killing U.S. citizens. I work for the United States government. Liberals said to me, I don't know, man. I don't know. What the hell happened? Violent crime rate, homicide rate plunged by 20%. What the hell happened? And the media, totally divorced from reality. These people would rather see you dead than for a second acknowledge that this FBI, I'm not talking about the prior ones, that these people, that we had anything to do with it at all. They don't give a shit. All they want to do is write their damn headline. We don't know what happened. Must have been a statistical anomaly. Yeah, sure, dipshits. Keep it going. So we're so back, aren't we? Already? I can tell. I am so in a mood today. You have no idea. This is like bottled up, pent up energy for the past year. So supporters, libs and their media pals, we don't like each other. Keep writing your stories. I'm sure you'll have a story about tomorrow. You always do. You already wrote the headline. I can already see it. So good for you. Knock yourselves out. I know we're good clickbait for you, but as long as you show up, it's all that matters to me. The third group of people I want to address are the grifters out there who mistakenly thought I wasn't coming back. Now, I am back. The Podfather is back, and I'm here to take back this movement. This movement's been hijacked by a small group of dipshits and bums and losers who are nothing but doomers under the frame of accountability. I'm all about accountability. I just showed you what we did or what we didn't. Did I not? I'm not sitting here going, hey, trust me, bro. I showed you. If you like it, great. If you don't, That is absolutely your constitutional right. You paid for it to go out and go, that sucked. I would have done something different. Okay, but you didn't. You didn't do anything different. I'm not sure if you volunteered to serve or not, but you didn't. You sat in the front row with your popcorn, ankle biting, throwing this popcorn at the ring at two guys in there sparring away, fighting for this country while you did shit. You just talked about it. So you didn't do anything. Now, I'm back on the air. I'm not going to take on every single thing in one day in one show, but I'm telling you right now, your bullshit, I'm done with it. The grifter bums, all you guys are a class of doomers. Everything sucks all the time. You would have done it different. You didn't do shit. You did nothing. You didn't volunteer. You didn't ask. You didn't give up your show to do. You did nothing. All you did was bullshit people and say, nothing's happening. And then when we tell you, oh, it just happened, you move on to something else you say is not going to happen. And then when that happens, you move on to something else. Totally full of shit. Thank you. There's some numbers. This was from an Epic Times here. Nothing's happening. 35% increase in espionage arrests. That's not nothing. You don't have to like it, but it's not nothing, okay? 78% increase in China-related espionage. Again, not nothing. 112% increase in agent applications. 20% drop in the nationwide murder rate. Again, you don't have to like it. You could say, I would have done 21. Yeah, but you didn't. What's that? Guy, thank you, Guy. Guy's like, I don't like murders. I'm all for this. Me either. 20% increase in FBI arrests related to 764 child exploitation network. 640 individuals disrupted from conducting terror attacks. You don't have to like it, bro. You don't have to like any of it. But don't say it's nothing. A lot of people put a lot of hard work into it, from this administration at the top on down. You want to critique it, say you would have done better, step up. Step up. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this here. Again, this video is going to be in my daily news wrap-up, so tune in for that. Let me click this Rumble link and show you this video does come from
I don't want to make
Dan
this a whole
Bongino show. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Now, see, the thing is, you know, he only had 2.56 million views on this video, okay? That's all. 2.5 million people viewed this video his first day back. So, you know, whatever. Yeah, I get about 900 views. But let me show you this. I tuned in, of course, to watch this and to see what kind of information he had to share with you. But let me see here if I can get this going here. Oh, here we go.
My shoulder got hurt in a grappling session. I know you can't stay away, so I know you're here. And I'm going to say, I mean this. Welcome. I don't dislike you guys. I just find it fascinating that I'm so fascinating to you all. I don't know what's so interesting about me, but you clearly find it interesting because you write about me all the time. So in order to get you prepped for what the show is going to look like on relaunch, Jim, what is this thing called I'm about to read? Do you remember?
It's an ad.
It is an ad. An advertisement. Because the media always seems shocked by this. Meanwhile, they run ads in their newspaper, but they're unfamiliar. This is called an advertisement.
Okay, so there you have it. Yeah. Alrighty then. Okay, let's jump back over here. And but you know it's amazing. You know, yeah, you saw how his chat box was going. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's mine. Yeah. Hi WBS. Hi Foxy Grandma. Hi Sheeby3. Okay, can I get some more chats, please? I'm sure he got his 20 unique chats in about the first 30 seconds of his video. So I'm not concerned about that, although I'm sure that he didn't get as many hours on Rumble Premium or hours viewed this month. Okay, so let's see what Wendy Bell has to offer here with No Way Out. Let's check it out here. This is going to be right after she does her Pledge of Allegiance.
So I have this window of time on Saturday morning. I love waking up early And this is before the boys are up, before Joe is up. It's just Murphy and me, and he's passed out somewhere in the living room. And I got busy in the kitchen doing one thing. You know, when you open up a drawer and it's all chaos and you're like, son of a mother. And you start pulling some stuff out, and then all of a sudden everything's out on the counter and you're wiping it down and you're scrutinizing. What are these things even for? How long do I found stuff from the sorority house in 1991. Okay, a spoon that I took from the Chi Omega house from the University of Colorado, I found in my drawer. It led to the refrigerator, right? Ew, if it's been a while since you've gone through your refrigerator, if you have people in your family like I do who are expiration date psychos, right? Mom, this honey has expired. I'm like, newsflash, honey doesn't expire. You could put that in like King Tut's tomb and it'll still be good in 2,000 years. Yes? I found Caro corn syrup in the cupboard because, of course, from the refrigerator, it went to that cupboard with all the spices and oils and whatnot. And I found Caro corn syrup from 2014, which was only outdone by some random mustard from 2009. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there were some things. Only thing that was grosser than that was the hair in the fruit bin and the dead fly. Yes. It was disgusting, but by golly, I got it done. And 5 hours later, you look back and you're like, my goodness, we've had so much crap in this house and we're going to start eating it. So we're going to all start choosing things that we're wanting to make, choose a protein, and we'll throw in some of the canned goods and get this crap out of here. But you know what? The expiration date thing. Are your kids crazy about expiration dates? Like I grew up with, if it smelled okay, it was probably okay. My dad's like, hey, that's a best by date. That's not a use by date. You're fine. Milk, right? Did they tell you all your life? Oh, it's really good up to a week after the expiration. The evening before the clock strikes the next day, my kids are dumping out milk in the sink. And I want to say to them, I'm like, look, you little Gen Z jerks. All right. I want to tell you something. I'm Generation X, okay? Generation X is ready to take over the world because everybody else has so royally fudged it up. What do we have of baby boomers right now, right? We have baby boomers who are coming from the suburbs into our urban areas to protest against the lawful removal of illegal alien rapists, murderers, and pedophiles. Go figure that out, right? We've got a millennial phase of parents who've completely ruined their kids. Look, I'm just going to tell you, I'm not God's greatest gift to parenting, but there is no reason in the supermarket your 1-year-old should have Beat headsets on and should be sitting in the buggy with an iPad, okay? It's okay to go to a restaurant and take crayons and paper with you. We played what, guys? Hangman. What did we play? Tic-tac-toe. And if you're waiting for your food, there's no reason for you to need to be entertained. You behave because that's what you're expected to do. And if you don't, you're going to get spanked. Okay? That's how we grew up. We grew up drinking out of the hose, right? And the first about 5 minutes of it doesn't taste that good. We played Red Rover until our arms almost broke. We played and played forever until the streetlights came on. And by the way, my mom wasn't home half of the time. We were latchkey freaking kids, right? And we did okay. I don't understand what has happened to this country, but I am so freaking tired of it. I'm tired of the protesters, the people who apparently don't have jobs or they do, and it's being a professional agitator. You suck, and we're tired of you because we wake up every day and we go to work. And we pay our taxes. And every now and again, we might go to church. And we don't need you barging in on it. You're annoying. You're blowhards. And by the way, take a shower. It's okay to care about your appearance. It's not like everybody's going to Walmart to shop afterwards. Okay, I've had it. And I'm going to speak for Generation X. We freaking want our country back. And if you think there's something wrong with red, white, and blue, or the acronym MAGA, pack your bags. We're so tired of you. The grifters who've come in, who've stolen generational wealth from us, and Republicans and Democrats alike, let it happen. Pack your bags. You've expired. 11 Senate Republicans vote alongside the Democrats Friday night to continue funding an African arm of USAID, whose chief financial officer just pled guilty to basically bribery. Okay, and who urged people stop the funding. This is fraudulent hook, line, and sinker. Anybody else with me? Who else are we annoyed by, right? I'm tired of all the women out there who've ruined this country. Liberal chicks, look in the mirror, okay? We're so tired of you. We're tired of your demands. We're tired of you expecting that everybody should pay attention to you. We're tired of you acting as though you don't have rights. What rights don't you have? I have the right to not listen to you and your blowhardia all day. We've had it. Okay? And all of this, ladies and gentlemen, comes out of me cleaning my freaking refrigerator. I'm tired of the extra baggage. I'm tired of the spices like the garam masala that I have, a pound of it. What am I using this for? I have wasabi powder. You know, if I want to start making sushi anytime soon. It's ridiculous. We have a family refrigerator and pantry system that isn't working. Too many items are well past their use-by date. And I'm tired of sitting in the kitchen with you trying to create some recipe where America delivers what America's promise is without carving all of these voices out of it. Done. Okay? So everybody out there, every kid who just graduated college who expects to make 6 figures and have 4 weeks off and a 401k, take a seat. We crawled our way up to the top of the ladder. We sacrificed and worked weekends. We took out ridiculous loans the government never should have allowed us to take out. We scraped, we scrambled, we saved, and we sacrificed. And you know what? Our parents weren't there giving us anything either. There was nowhere to turn. So, from a weary Generation X, can everybody else just get the hell out of the way? Because it seems like we are the only people equipped to be able to tackle what needs to be tackled. Clean out the fridge, dump the junk out of the pantry, and let's get cooking, ladies and gentlemen, because I am so tired of the same old dinner. Aren't you? Now, just think. I was unsure what I was going to talk about in the opening monologue. Seems to have bubbled through because I think a lot of America has had enough of the same old boring menu. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, okay, I've got the best Trump troll for you guys out there. This guy, I think it's Minnesota. I think it's Minneapolis. And there's one of these white women who's like, bok, 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 and in the face of one of the agents. And he's like, look, lady, back up. She doesn't. So the pepper spray comes out. But there's a Trump guy on a megaphone who's narrating the whole thing. And I think you need it. I need it or Xanax. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Well, I'm glad she got that out of her system. Okay, let's get up here to about the 23-minute mark and see what's going on.
This spells doom.
Here we go.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. So I saw a couple of back-to-back Harry Enton over at CNN. You know, he's one of my hit or miss boyfriends. It depends. But he was like, literally one poll was, this spells doom for the Republicans coming up in the midterms. Like, everybody loves what the Democrats are selling. And I was like, what exactly is that? A healthcare system that doesn't work, right? That's rampantly fraudulent. That's all coming up. Your Affordable Care Act of suck. Surprise, right? What are they about? Kumbaya, we're all in this together? No, they're crazy out in the streets causing disruption under the guise of their First Amendment right. What is exactly you're getting when you voted for a Democrat? Somebody to answer your phone call? No. Somebody to do what's right for you? No. Well, let's see. Of course, the next poll, Harry was like, Trump and all these red states, they're gaining so much population. And I'm like, no, duh. Blue hellscapes suck. And enough people are like, you know what? It's just not worth it, sweetheart. Let's go. Let's roll the dice. I'd rather roll the dice and do something totally different than watch a place that I love fall apart. That's it. So there's a Neapolitan News Service poll. It says, which political party do you trust more on each of the following issues? I mean, it's ridiculous. So there's things that matter, and then there's the fictitious things that the Democrats create so that they can sound like they're good at something, okay? So let's talk about this. Which party do you trust more on national security? Boy, that's a nail biter. Well, it's the Republicans by 12, okay? Republicans, 43%, Democrats, 31%. How that's even possible, I don't know, right? How about crime? Which political party do you trust more on crime? The party that opened the board and was like, come on in. What? You're MS-13? You look like a Maryland man. Come on in. Have a tequila shot, right? Republicans up by 11 on that one. Crime. How about immigration? I know. Another mystifier. Republicans by 7. The economy. Remember? Everybody's like, Trump's not fixing the economy. It's so bad under Trump. Well, right. It's taken a little while for 4 years of Barack Obama through weekend at Bernie's Joe Biden to fudge things up and actually settle it down. Republicans by 7. We trust Republicans more by 7. In gun laws, Republicans by 4. No duh. Inflation, I trust Republicans more by 2. You want to hear where the Democrats come in strong? This is it. Democrats are trusted more on education. Really? By 10. 42% to 32%. What have the Democrats done besides churn out yet another generation of toxic, groomed students? Congratulations. You've received your public school diploma. You're now ready to be a community activist or organizer. Healthcare. Right? Democrats are more trusted by 13 points in the Neapolitan News Service poll. Okay. How about abortion? You guys can have it. 100%. That's the Democrats by 15. And then climate change, because I know you guys are really worried about that, right? I mean, the climate change. By 17, Democrats win that. Now, I want you, okay, so that just shows you the things that matter, that impact your bottom line, that impact your ability to live the American dream, to feel safe, to be proud, to be an American, right? To believe in all of that. Democrats, they long ago missed the boat. I want you to hear this, though. It is it's the best Trump troll ever. Brock, how would you describe this? This is like, I think it's Minneapolis, and I think it's some woman who's trying to get in the way of an ICE agent, and there's like a guy in a Trump voice who's...
It sounds like he's on a bullhorn.
He's narrating
saying, hey,
it.
lady. Yeah.
He's like, hey, lady, I don't think you want to do that, but he's doing it, and he's a fantastic Trump impersonator, and she gets sprayed in the face because she's not listening to the ICE agent who's like, ma'am, you need to step back. You can record whatever we're doing on the sidewalk. You cannot get in the way. But she doesn't listen until she gets it full in the beezer.
Attention, please, attention. If you're a crazy, liberal, ugly woman, otherwise known as Crazy Karens, please go back home and annoy your husbands instead of our beautiful ICE officers. Although when you think about it, you probably don't have a husband because you're fat and ugly and annoying, and nobody will ever marry you. I know you're all wearing pajamas, but this would be a nice moment to maybe start with a little jog around the block so you can lose some of that weight and maybe think about some of those life decisions where everything went wrong. Anyway, if you keep around with that guy, you're going to get pepper sprayed. So please just, well, there you go, kept around, and now you found out. Believe me.
Alrighty.
Gosh, that is I'm sweating after that. That is the funniest flippin' thing that I've seen. Okay, so this is where we are. We're literally ridiculing you. Literally ridiculing you. And there's one more poll I'll drop on you before the break. Interactive polling, Minnesota poll, okay? Should state and local authorities help with immigration enforcement? 50% in Minnesota say yes. 36% say no. You want to know the breakdown? There is but one group, Democrats, 18 to 34, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the people who say, we shouldn't be helping ICE at all. Everybody else, the GOP by 80. They said, yeah, state and local authorities. How about y'all work together? That could really be swell. Independents by 3. Urban voters, yes, by 16 points, they said. Work with the feds. How about the suburbans? By 9. No college education by 33 points. It's not complicated. Everything that's going on is what America wants. Democrats, well, that's a different story. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, Georgia is way dirtier than we thought, ladies and gentlemen. A state senator blowing it out of the water. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there and add this into my daily news wrap-up along with Dan Bongino. Let me jump over here and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. I'm following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and let me remind you folks that these videos that I've shared with you are videos that come directly from the producer's channel, okay? I have the link to the videos as well as the link to the producer's channel if you'd like to check out more information. These videos that I've shared with you here are videos that I've posted on Murtek.com, where I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. Information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. This is your one-stop shop for no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. Okay, I'd like to share all of this with you, but unfortunately I don't have the time. But that's why I've put together my daily news wrap-up. Right here's Wendy Bell Radio. Right here's Dan Bongino. I have some information from McWater's Effect, some more information from Black Conservative Perspective, X22 Report, official Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, Benny Johnson, Badlands Media, Barry Cunningham. I've got 15 videos in here tonight and about 8 or 9 hours worth of information. So I'm going to get back with you here about 9:30, so go ahead and take a break. Grab a cup of coffee and a donut, or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, or a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and take a break and meet me back here about 9:30. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here with me. Hopefully, I will get to see you again later. And give me some chats. Say something in the chat box. If not now, then, during my daily news wrap-up, give me some chats. Either way, chat it up. All right? But thank you for being with me. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later. And may God bless.